This is interesting. There's a rumour going around that Carrie Symonds pronounces her surname Simons. So we thought we'd ring the press office at Downing Street to find out. And they got back to us and said they don't know.
They don't know?
They have no idea. Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Alexander Armstrong. In the news this week, in Kettering, after vital machinery fails at the walnut whip factory, the foreman takes drastic action. In Yorkshire, 2 pensioners celebrate surviving a year of lockdown with no medical mishaps. And at a farm in Cumbria, the new record holder of the world's longest crow keeps the title for a tragically short amount of time. On Ian's team tonight is a comedian who changed his name to Hugo Boss in protest at the aggressive legal action taken by their lawyers. But he soon changed it back after Hugo Boss threatened him with a really nasty suit. Please welcome Joe Lycett.
Hey.
And with Paul tonight is a TV presenter who in her long career has interviewed both Pete Doherty and Alex Salmond. But then again, so have the police. Please welcome Kirsty Wark. So what sort of week have you had, Ian?
Fine, thank you very much. Encouraging. I've got out a lot, obviously, drinking in public, in parks, in open spaces.
I've seen you doing that.
Outside supermarkets.
Yes.
It's been great. I don't remember a lot of it, but...
What do you drink when you're in the park? Lambrini?
But it was a car.
We begin with the bigger stories of the week. Paul and Kirsty, have a look at this.
Ooh, Dominic Cummings taking a lamp back to John Lewis.
Yes, this is him sort of dealing with the common people. Get out of my way. There's Boris Johnson once again excelling at sport. And there he is using his own...
Whitewash.
I was going to say something else, but it would, that amount of pressure a man that age wouldn't be possible.
Yes, this is the news that Boris Johnson has poked the bear. Or as Robert Colville in The Times put it, Number 10 has started a petrol fight with an arsonist. Dominic Cummings has taken to his blog, making a series of damaging assertions about Boris Johnson. Before we get to the assertions themselves, though, why has he done this?
Because an accusation was made by a source at Downing Street to say that he was the chatty rat who leaked details of a lockdown which I don't think Boris Johnson wanted. I think he said it in very graphic terms.
The thing about the bodies piling up.
Is it true, is it not true? We don't know.
The great thing about this scandal is that it's complicated in the who leaked what business, and I thought the public's not going to get interested in this. And then it turned out it was about John Lewis furniture. I'm that cross, really, because most of my house is John Lewis. And the idea that...
He's homeless, he lives in John Lewis.
But again, it just shows how little the Prime Minister understands the public, in that he thinks if his girlfriend's snotty about John Lewis, then that's fine. It's old Granny Theresa May. Oh, ghastly, embarrassing style. Who do you think votes for you?
I gave Carrie the benefit of the doubt, but now I've realised that she's like a lot of my girlfriends that have Instagram accounts for their home renovations. I'm sure you see this all the time, Ian.
Yeah, no.
Get furious about it. And they, spare me. You know, 2 trips to H&M Home and they think they're John Rocher all of a sudden.
It's another bit of the snobbery. I mean, one of the newspapers has started calling her Carrie Antoinette. John Lewis have made much capital this week. They put out a really funny tweet.
That's right, yes. Time for an interiors refresh. We pride our home design service on having something for almost everything. Yes.
Yeah.
The Daily Mail's Sarah Vine has got something to say on the matter. Here she is on Radio 4's Today programme.
The Prime Minister can't be expected to live in a skip.
I think we all imagine Boris Johnson living in a skip.
That's where he gets his hair done, anyway. There's a huge difference between living in a skip and getting someone else to pay for your decoration. There's a spectrum there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Sort of...
She's missed entirely.
Yes.
One of the allegations that Dominic Cummings makes in his blog is that the leaking last year of details about the second lockdown was not him. Who does he say it was?
Michael Gove.
Near.
Near. A guy called Mauve. Anybody called Guy called Mauve? Can we look that up? Is there anybody called Guy called Mauve?
The argument was whether it was this friend of Carrie's called Henry Newman or whether it was Cummings. And you've got, I mean, it's a very, very difficult thing to assess. You've got the Prime Minister saying one thing and Dominic Cummings saying exactly the opposite. I mean, which one do you think is lying? Answer both.
So are we any the wiser about who actually paid for the refurbishments then?
No.
I did. I'm here to reveal
Kirsty
it was
isn't
me.
because she doesn't want to be sacked, but I think everybody else is. It's Lord Brownlow, isn't it?
Is
So
it?
a Conservative Party donor paid the bill initially, this is the suggestion, and then Boris Johnson repaid the donor, in which case a loan should have been declared, but then it wasn't.
I mean, Kevin Maguire in The Mirror suggested it was a bit like a shoplifter being caught outside the building saying, I'm going to pay, I was always going to pay.
So what did Labour demand should be done?
Death.
That's quite harsh, even for Keir Starmer.
Was it not death?
It wasn't, no. They demanded a senior minister be put forward to clarify who had paid for the cost of the refurbishment.
Yes, the same as death.
Instead, they got Liz Truss.
Yeah, death.
There we are. So here she is.
The Prime Minister has met the costs of the Downing Street refurbishment from his own pocket. As I've said, he has met the costs out of his own pocket. But I do know that he has met the costs from his own pocket. We're very clear he hasn't broken the rules, that he has acted in line with the declarations that need to be made, and he has met the costs himself.
It's what she went into politics for.
She's taking a very firm line there.
The idea is he's met the cost from his own pocket, but it doesn't say who filled his pocket 5 minutes
An
before.
awful lot of focus on Boris's pocket. I'm not
Yeah.
going to find that very safe.
Imagine them turned out with nothing in them most of the time.
Liz Truss there looked like her face was trying to escape her own head.
She's got other things to try and escape from. Have a look at this. She's taking a firm line despite everything they're throwing at her.
Grieve yesterday said that he was a vacuum of integrity. Johnny Mercer said this week it's the most distrustful
It's a curse, isn't it?
That's Carrie throwing out a John Lewis curtain rail.
That's the hat stand.
Yeah.
Be gone. But honestly, do we care? Don't we just want the Prime Minister to focus on the pandemic? Isn't this all just tittle-tattle? Doesn't the British public just want Boris Johnson to get on with the job? I've paraphrased there, just so we don't actually have to listen to Grant Shapps.
I actually know how all of this ends. It reminds me exactly of my friend Claire and Steph from Birmingham. They're in a WhatsApp group that I'm in, and Steph put on the WhatsApp group that she'd got a new bedspread and said it was from Debenhams. Claire said she'd seen the same one in Home Bargains. Then they stopped talking for a long time. It was very isolated in that WhatsApp group. A few weeks later, Steph went at Claire outside Timpson's with some freshly cut keys.
Wow. Well, that covers that story. You don't need to end it, Alexander.
No. Well, the Electoral Commission is now going to investigate, saying there are reasonable grounds to suspect an offence or offences may have occurred. Ominous use.
What was that in terms of clashing colours or...
There's going to be an internal inquiry into whether Boris Johnson broke the ministerial code. Who will have the final say on that matter?
He will.
Carrie.
Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson.
It's called an internal inquiry because you can shove the findings up your arse.
And that is more or less exactly what will happen.
Yeah.
When Boris hosted this show many years ago, he was meant to be here at 1 o'clock and he said, I've got to go and buy a Christmas tree. And he disappeared for 3 or 4 hours and then came back again. Now, that story is relevant because this was in April.
Meanwhile, why was Tony Blair trending this week?
Something about his hair. I didn't see the photograph, but he's got long hair.
Come to think of it, Paul.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Paul, I think
What?
yours is better, though.
I haven't seen his hair yet, so I don't know whether that's an insult.
OK, let's have a look. Yes, by the way, it was his hair.
Yes, my hair's better than that.
I think it is.
I don't look like the drummer in Iron Maiden.
I quite like it. You know, it's been a long pandemic, couldn't get to the barber. I only look like this because my live-in gardener's very good with secateurs.
Well, this is the continuing row between Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings, and it looks like there can only be one winner. Rishi Sunak helpfully revealed this week that he had paid for his own flat refurbishment in full. That's how you behave in the public life, with honesty, integrity, and by being married to a billionaire. Commenting on the row over the redecorating of the flat, one Telegraph journalist said that Boris may have left a damaging paper trail. He didn't use enough paste. Boris has also recently acquired this painting.
Oh.
Yeah, nice. According to the Mail, he bought it using PayPal, not the online finance system. He just gets his pals to pay. Meanwhile, in the Lulu Little showroom, one man stands and dreams.
He's in John Lewis. He deliberately went to John Lewis to do a photo op, and the Conservative spokesman said, "Look at him, he's playing politics." You thought, that's his job, to lead to the opposition.
Ian and Joe, take a look at this.
Well, that's some innocent people who, after a long struggle, have proved their innocence. Post-masters. There's someone who's not innocent. That's the former chief executive, Paula Fennell. She's guilty. There she is, humping mail bags. That'll be her next profession. Sewing them. So it's a fantastic result. 39 people, one of the biggest miscarriages of justice this country's ever seen, have cleared their reputations. And they were locked up and their lives were ruined and their reputations were destroyed because the post office said, "You're stealing," at the end of the day from your machines. And they weren't. It was a classic. The computer had got it wrong. It was a faulty IT system. And for nearly 10 years, the post office continued to say, no, the computer says, yes, you're guilty. It was that feeble.
And also people were told that they were the only people who had done this.
Yeah.
They weren't told that there was dozens or hundreds of other people.
And you thought somebody in the post office might have said, how is it that a disproportionate amount of dishonest people come and work for the post office? Because the company, the post office chief execs, were the only ones that knew how many there were. And you say 39, but there are a lot more cases still to come.
Yeah. Yes, no. I mean, it was 39 acquittals.
Yeah.
But the case action was about 500.
Yeah.
But you should take a boundary, because
500.
Private Eye was the magazine for the last 10 years that's been pushing this story, haven't you? Been investigating it.
We have banged on about it quite a lot. But, Computer Weekly started it off, and there was a good BBC programme called Inside Out South, which should take a bow. So, and some brilliant, obviously, postmasters themselves saying, I don't think I should have been locked up. And why did no one believe us for this amount of time? This is useless government IT. The same firm, Fujitsu, did the NHS IT system, which lost £12 billion and had to be scrapped because it was entirely useless.
Did they do the Nando's app? Because that's terrible. Nightmare. Every time I go for lemon and herb, it gives me extra spicy. I'm too delicate for it.
It doesn't arrest you afterwards, does it?
It probably gets close.
Yes, the Public Accounts Committee described their handling of the NHS patients' details as the worst contracting fiasco in the history of the public sector. That was before Test and Trace. Fujitsu, obviously, is the company. Horizon was the system.
Yeah.
When did Fujitsu become aware that the Horizon system they had developed was faulty?
10 years ago.
According to Computer Weekly, a senior software developer who worked at Fujitsu alleged that the system should never have been launched and that bosses at Fujitsu knew this. Everybody in the building, by the time I got there in 2001, knew it was a bag of shit. It had gone through the test labs, God knows how many times, and the testers were raising bugs by the thousand. Paula Venables, there she is. She'd be quite good in Line of Duty, wouldn't she? Sorry.
Looks like a crypt keeper. She is.
She's the former chief executive of the post office. Paula's a very accomplished woman. She's not only an ordained Anglican vicar, she also became a non-executive director at the supermarket chain Morrison's and the furnishings retailer Dunelm, an advisor to the Cabinet Office and chair of Imperial College NHS Trust, as well as overseeing the most widespread miscarriage of justice in British legal history. So well done, Paula. Why is Paula Venables taking all the blame for the post office fiasco?
It's her fault, I would say.
She was chief executive. Tim Parker was chairman.
Here he is, Tim Parker.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Was it low clouds that day? What the earth is going on there? Well, we can see where the money's gone, can't we?
He looks as though he's borrowed the judge's wig. Just put it on his head. He said of this he'd like to apologise for historic failures, by which he was trying to imply things that had happened a long, long time
Before he got there.
Before he got there, but it's just not true. You know, even a couple of years ago, the Post Office was trying to replace the judge who'd found the first lot of people innocent and saying he shouldn't be allowed to try the case anymore.
Paula and the Post Office tried to investigate their own system themselves, didn't they? Because they hired a team of forensic accountants called Second Sight, who found that there were all sorts of problems with the Post Office's IT system, and so the Post Office then just got rid of them and destroyed their documents. So Second Sight then went to work with the accused postal worker.
Yeah, it's like having someone in charge of ethics and you're the Prime Minister and you sack them when you don't get the right verdict.
Yeah.
Why did they do this? I mean, presumably these people aren't evil, but what they did is so sort of incompetent and so dreadful. I mean, why couldn't they, at the beginning of this, say, look, it's been a terrible mistake? Why couldn't they admit to that?
It's partly due to, you know, you're picking up an enormous bonus, but also it's just the basic thing, I think, of just believing in technology.
Yeah.
I know that sounds very, very archaic and stupid, but if you've got people saying, no, it really wasn't us stealing, you could listen to them.
That would be a good punishment, actually, for those execs, wouldn't it? A lifetime of the computer disagreeing with them. You know, they go into hospital with a broken leg. Sorry, actually, the computer says it's not broken,
In fact, it's better.
It's a
Or
fantastic
computer
lesson.
dating, setting them up with people who weren't very suitable. The rest of their life. Every night.
All this began at the turn of the century. Around that time, the Royal Mail had decided it was going to be called something else. Do you remember that was?
Bastards are us.
No. Do you remember they decided they were going to be called Consignia?
Consignia, that's a sort of mafia post, isn't it? That's number
Consignia.
Oh, yes. Stupidity.
As the Royal Mail Chief Executive John Roberts explained, Consignia describes the full scope of what the Post Office does in a way that the words post and office cannot. It cost £1 million for that idea, and it was ditched only 2 years after, amid general agreement that it was the most unpopular brand in UK marketing history. But let's give credit, as you did earlier, Ian, to Computer Weekly magazine, which led the investigation into the Post Office story. Did you see how they described the predictability of government-backed IT projects ending in failure? It goes something like this. Ambitious project, outsourcing, bloat, disaster, crash, spend, spend, spend.
That's a weekend for me.
So, yes, this is the sub-postmaster scandal and calls for former Post Office Chief Paula Venables to be stripped of her CBE. According to the Mail's brief biography of Paula Venables, until the Post Office catastrophe, her career, largely in retail, had been exemplary. Well, I'm guessing for many years, Harold Shipman was a top-notch GP. There was a solemn atmosphere in court as the judge read out the verdicts of the 39 sub-postmasters. Cashier number 1, not guilty. Cashier number 2, not guilty. The boss of the company behind the Horizon computer system says it's the UK government's number 2 IT supplier. So number 2, that's a polite way of putting it. Time now for round 2, the swirly picture of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's your first swirly picture. Yes, Kirsty.
Something has happened in Aberdeen. It's something to do with a retitling.
It is exactly to do with the retitling. It is Scottish investment house Standard Life Aberdeen has rebranded. It's now called Aberdeen.
No.
But still pronounced Aberdeen. Stephen Bird is the chief executive of the company. They're an Edinburgh-based company. What prompted them to make this change? Ditch all the vowels, some of the vowels.
I have no idea.
Was it a severe mental breakdown?
Maybe they took a lot of E, and they couldn't see the letter anymore.
Stephen Bird, the chief executive of the company, said the rename makes it more modern and dynamic. Sorry, dynamic. Can you see any potential issues with this new name?
They could go to PricewaterhouseCoopers and it'd be Rick.
Yes.
The minute you said that, I was like, I cannot wait to see what she does.
Yeah, you rebranded as Hugo Boss.
I did, yes.
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 Any tips for Aberdeen?
Top tip, actually. it's very easy to change your name via deed poll. It's quite hard to change the other things, like your passport, whatever. I had an issue because, silly of me, really, but I made my signature a cock and balls, and the DVLA rejected me. So I would say, if you're going to rename yourself, don't make your signature a cock and balls. It's my cockpit for life.
Well, that's bad luck for somebody whose name is Cock and Balls, isn't it? I mean, that's terrible.
But cock and balls will be short for something like Coburn and Ballistic or something.
What else might be changing its name shortly?
Oh, Mount Snowdon.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Mount Snowdon.
It's going to be called...
A motion has been brought forward by a local councillor that it should only ever be referred to by its Welsh name. Oh, right, sorry.
I was born in Wales.
Yeah.
I didn't spend very long there.
Oh.
Iarwyddfa.
Iarwyddfa.
It's disgusting, these woke lefties, meaning that we can't dead name a mountain now.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes me sick. Sorry, I'm trying to add a bit of BBC, what is it?
Racism.
Fury.
I tried to work out, because we're meant to be sort of a bit left and a bit right now, aren't we? Is that the idea?
Yes.
And I tried to work out if you could do a right-wing sewing bee. And I decided it wouldn't be called sewing bee, it'd be called Old Women and Puffs. And everyone on it would be called Gary. And I'd go around and say, "What are you making, Gary?" And he'd go, "Swastika blanket."
Wales's highest mountain, Snowdon, may soon only be called by its Welsh name. I believe the correct pronunciation of the mountain is, I'm going to have a go at it, wish me luck, Snowdon. This is part of a trend to reclaim traditional Welsh names that have been anglicised. For example, Councillor John Pugh Roberts said Hellfire Pass should be more accurately known as Bullhead Royce, or even more accurately, the A363. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here is your next swirly picture.
Judging by the way the seats are facing, that's a driverless car.
Absolutely.
Yes. They're going to be allowing driverless cars, or some aspect of a car which is driverless, to be on the road.
This is the news, that driverless cars will be on Britain's roads by the end of this year.
But why?
Well, presumably the only conditions you'd ever want to be in a driverless car would be if you're drunk.
I mean, you could sort of, you go to a country pub, you get drunk, you put your postal code into the car, but you're drunk, and so you end up putting the postal code in for Aberdeen. You end up there. And you look at that, so I don't even know where I am. I'm so pissed I can't even read that.
Or you end up at your old house. We've had pissed people turning up at our door who used to live... I mean,
They used to live there? What do you mean?
The house. But that happens quite a lot, apparently.
Because they get the postcode wrong and
Well, people just
now.
turn up. They're at the door at about 3 a.m.
Theresa May at number 10.
Yeah, exactly. How did Ford in America try and get pedestrians used to the idea of driverless cars? Did you see this? They had a man cleverly disguised as a seat driving around in a car to see if people were scared by it. And I think we've got a bit of footage of this. Here it is.
Can we just look at that bloke again?
Yeah.
Isn't that Count Binface?
Oh, it is. Volvo's latest ad for its conceptual electric driverless car shows that you can relax in a full-length bed and even fall asleep.
What if you die en route? Then you're just delivered dead.
Well, you make them out of wood and you can just use it as a coffin.
What has Londoner Gareth Wild been up to in the car park of his local Sainsbury's?
Oh, yes, he's successfully parked in every single available car parking space in the last 2.5 years or something.
Exactly right. He's completed a 6-year challenge for parking every...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, there are 211 spaces Gareth could have parked in. How did he keep track of where he had and hadn't parked?
Something to do with spreadsheets, which I don't really understand what that is.
Absolutely right. There you go.
So
Here's the car park, helpfully broken down into zones by Gareth. Where do you think the best spot was?
what do you mean the best spot? The one nearest the supermarket?
Well, yes.
Well, the one nearest the supermarket.
The one, yes, C1. C1, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yes, C1, which he describes as gold dust. Some spots were more difficult than others to claim, including B7 and B8. As he said, I went down one evening for snacks quite late, managed to snag B8. Ooh, that was quite a moment in my life.
It's quite sweet, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite an innocent diversion.
Do you want to see a Belgian man's ingenious solution to parking his car in a teeny tiny garage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nu moet nog deze deur open doen. Wil ik de deur van Nottelkind daarin. Nu moet nog de Notto. Nu moet ik achteruit rijden. Nu rijd ik achteruit en dan kan ik uitstappen, hé meneer, zie. Ik leg de Notto stil. Ik stap uit. En ik duw de Notto vooruit en dat staat binnen, hé. Zie, nu duw ik de Notto vooruit. Op zijn plaats. De Notto staat op zijn plaats. Doen de deur.
That's the most pleasing video I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, this is the news that motorists could legally allow their cars to self-drive on British motorways later this year. According to The Guardian, motorists could be allowed to watch videos and send texts while they're driving. Currently, the only way to do that is by getting an HGV licence. OK, fingers on buzzers.
I don't think I want to know what this story is about.
This is news that the COVID pandemic has changed the demand for some of the UK's most important goods. So here's what we're going to do. Fingers on buzzers, and we're going to do boom or doom. I.e., has the pandemic been brilliant for this brand or terrible?
Oh, fun.
OK, so fingers on buzzers. Corned beef, boom or doom? Joe?
Boom?
Boom, absolutely right, it's boom. According to the food industry publication The Grocer, sales of the canned meat rose by 9.8 million to 83.3 million in the last year.
Fantastic.
Who's responsible for this?
Me. I just love mush. Anything I can mush in, just punch it in. Great.
When I was very young, when I was like, before I was 10, I misread the label once. I thought it was cornered beef. That's how they caught the animals. They sort of like edged them into a corridor, but then it can't get out, and then you kill it. Cornered beef.
According to the commercial director for Princes, who make the stuff, lockdown has driven a trend towards nostalgia and comfort.
Yeah.
OK, here's your next one. Boom or doom? Portaloo. Yes.
Definitely boom.
It is absolutely right. Yes,
Definitely
they boomed. In fact, demand has rocketed so much there is a global shortage of Portaloos. According to The Times, an industry source says it's a mess. How they usually are. OK, fingers on buzzers. Next, boom or doom? Marmite. Or... Yes.
Doom.
Yes, doom. Why?
Because the others have been boom. And I would guess that there would be some variation at some point, otherwise it's round to be called boom.
That's true. That's true. Marmite, apparently it's doomed. A reduction in beer making during the pandemic has meant there isn't enough yeast.
No yeast, not enough yeast.
By breweries.
So the stocks are low?
Yes.
But do people still want it?
Well, listen, Marmite fans, I mean, how have they reacted? How would you imagine?
With horror.
They have declared it to be Marmageddon. Last one, fingers on buzzers.
Yeah.
Naturists. Yes.
I'd say boom.
Boom, absolutely, yeah. According to British Naturism, staying at home has caused an explosion in naked living. Members have almost doubled in size. British Naturism embraced lockdown by running up to 100 online virtual events a month. Do you know what sort of things these have been?
Well, presumably you had to be a member to join.
Well, I don't know. They've done all sorts. There have been naked pub quizzes, to improvised drumming classes to beat out the stress. Apparently one popular class is Naked Kitchen with Pam, where participants are taught to make flapjacks and Victoria sponge. I mean, Pam's really taken off. Everything. Do you want to see her on Eamon Holmes?
Yeah.
His programme?
Literally on Eamon Holmes.
His programme.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So that's the thing you see, naked naturists on breakfast television, nowhere to put the mic.
It's not necessarily the mic, it's the battery pack you've got to worry about.
This is the news that people sheltering from COVID are seeking comfort by eating corned beef. Corned beef sales have risen particularly amongst millennials in London, and let's face it, turning that key is the closest they'll get to being on the property level. Lockdown has also seen a rise in websites for naked participants, including Naked Kitchen with Pam, where viewers are promised a tantalising glimpse of Pam's flapjacks. The spokesperson for British Naturism is called Andrew Welsh. Welsh, coincidentally, also the noise he makes when getting off a plastic camping chair. Fingers
So visceral.
on... Woo! Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's another picture. Yes, Ian and Joe.
Is it David Cameron?
Yes.
Yes, I got one right.
This is just the next chapter in Green Cell.
Oh, yeah.
So it's great that Joe recognised him, because most people now say, I don't know who he is. I never met him. I certainly never had any phone calls from him, and I didn't give him any help. So I have no idea who that is.
What else do we learn about Lex Greensill this week? He wasn't a special advisor, despite what his business card said, and he didn't have any sort of employment contract. But what did he have?
The letter A at the start of his name. His name is Alex, but he goes with Lex. It's almost as if he's been working for these Aberdeen people.
He had a security pass for the Cabinet Office. According to Britain's top civil servant, Simon Case, it does not look appropriate, and he was surprised and puzzled by the lack of paperwork. Let's just move our attention to football for a moment. A recent meeting between Boris Johnson's Chief of Staff, Dan Rosenfield, and Manchester United Executive Vice Chairman Ed Woodward has recently come under scrutiny. Do you know why?
Yeah, because it wasn't only Rosenfield he met. He had a passing meeting with Johnson, at which Boris Johnson apparently sort of gave a nod and a wink to the Super League. Yeah?
Are you saying that the Prime Minister said one thing to one group of people and another to another?
According to the Sunday Times, Ed Woodward left the meeting on the 14th of April, just 4 days before the launch of the Super League, feeling emboldened about the plans, and reportedly told those behind the league that the project had been given the go-ahead by the PM himself, only for the PM himself publicly to condemn the idea just hours after it was announced.
It is his entire style of government. It's, of course, I'll leave my wife. I told you I'll leave my wife. I'll leave my wife. No, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to leave you. No, never leave you. Never.
This is the ongoing Greensill scandal. It's also been rumoured that Manchester United executive Ed Woodward met Boris Johnson 4 days before the launch of the Super League. Woodward chatted to the PM after bumping into him in a corridor at Downing Street, where presumably Boris was hovering around waiting for the gold paint on his skirting board to dry. It is time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week, and your four are Vladimir Putin, pubs in Scotland, Donald Trump, and this rather unusual Louis Vuitton designer gilet.
It's got something to do with keeping warm. Gilet, if that's what it's called, which looks like the sort of wrapping you get in an Amazon parcel, which probably costs thousands of pounds. Those air bubbles keep you warm. So Putin's the odd one out because he actually embraces the cold.
No, it's not that.
Oh, well.
I've got an idea.
Yes.
Go on, then.
Putin this week said that he thinks perhaps Russia should be more transparent.
Like the gilet.
It's like the gilet.
Gilet.
Is it not that?
No, it's not that.
Trump's the only person with a crooked mouth.
No.
Why stop at his mouth?
They all have inflatable versions of themselves, apart from Vladimir Putin, who deployed an inflatable army of tanks in Russia.
You can rent an inflatable pub in Scotland.
Yeah. People in Scotland can make their gardens more exciting as lockdown eases by hiring one of these, an inflatable pub.
Oh, sick.
There we are. Costs 200.
That's a tent.
You can get that as an extra as well. 250 quid. Comes complete with a bar and VIP bollards. Alcohol is not included. There are certain stipulations.
Yes.
It will not be erected in winds over 24 miles an hour. Putin has this inflatable fleet of tanks. Let's have a look. A fairly convincing tank. Look at this. Some pumped-up fighter jets. And very realistic-looking missile launcher.
So is it people from afar think
For surveillance.
This was something the British did in the Second World War, wasn't it?
Yeah,
in the
harbours
desert.
and-
Yeah.
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 In fact, do you know who one of the first people was to use decoys for warfare?
It was Trojans.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess.
That horse. Everyone thought it's a giant horse. It's galloping in.
Turns out. But no, Paul, you might know this. Jasper Maskelyne. He was a magician.
Oh, yes.
Stage magician. He made a tank disappear by stretching a painted canvas to cover half of it, called a sun shield. Let's have a look.
Yeah, go on then.
I mean, you'd never know it was there. Mr. Putin, unsurprisingly, came top in a poll this year of sexiest men in Russia.
Yes.
Who do you think a significant number of Russian men voted for when they were asked to vote for the sexiest man in the country?
Themselves.
Exactly right, 19% voted for themselves. The famous Donald Trump blimp, here it is,
Oh, yes.
been acquired by the Museum of London. Why is the Museum of London choosing to preserve it?
Cultural significance.
Well, I suppose that's right, yeah. According to the museum, the blimp was an extraordinary and imaginative idea from Londoners. Even though Trump's out of office, his former staff are still keeping the show on the road. What did his former advisor Larry Kudlow say this week that Biden's climate policies would lead to?
I did see a remark that was said that Biden said you've got to stop eating hamburgers.
That's right. Biden's attempts to slash emissions would lead to no burgers on the 4th of July and would lead to an emergence of plant-based beer. And then we come to the designer brand. Louis Vuitton turned heads with this unusual inflatable gilet.
How much is it?
£2,500.
And you have to supply your own air?
You probably do. I mean, how would you describe that garment, Joe, in your sewing bee role?
I mean, my role is host, so I don't normally give a view, but I would say shit.
How did one man in China create a DIY version of the gilet?
Well, I should imagine because it looks like packaging, doesn't it? So he just sort of took some packaging out of an Amazon box or equivalent
That's right.
and just draped it around his neck.
Yep. Mr. Yi came up with a much cheaper alternative using air packaging pillows.
Yep.
Cost 50p. Here he is.
I prefer that.
Yeah, I think so. There is a difference between the two, and that is the cheaper version doesn't have a zip. You get what you pay for.
Famously expensive, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they all have inflatable versions of themselves, apart from Vladimir Putin, who deployed an inflatable army of tanks in Russia. Considerate of Putin to create an army that blows itself up. Putin's inflatable tanks are incredibly realistic, though. Obviously, before any soldier climbs into one, he has to take his shoes and socks off. The Donald Trump blimp was sent to the Museum of London, squashed into a suitcase. Coincidentally, how, on more than one occasion, Melania tried to smuggle herself out of the White House. According to the Louis Vuitton website, the gilet has a central zip at the front, or a zip. Time now for the Missing Words Round, which this week features as its guest publication the magazine of the International Tug of War Federation. They recently gave the old editor the heave-ho. And we start with what causes fears of earthquake?
A particularly spicy dal.
Is it the arrival of Eric Pickles?
The answer is gender reveal party. A couple in New Hampshire's gender reveal party was such a hit that it sparked reports of an earthquake. The parents set off 80 pounds of dynamite at the gender reveal party for their child. As a result, we still don't know what sex the baby is, but we do know it's deaf. Next, the easiest TV quiz show to what is what?
To win is this.
Yeah. Why don't you do it then?
No, the easiest TV quiz show to win
is Name That Fruit, which is on Tuesdays.
Pomegranate.
I'm going to give you it. Eggheads, because you.
What do you mean, name that fruit? I'm going to give it to you, eggheads. What are you talking about?
Eggheads is apparently the easiest one to win. According to The Times, the second most winnable quiz is Pointless, the daily quiz hosted by Alexander Armstrong and Richard Osman. I have to interject there. I think you'll find it's hosted by Alexander Armstrong. Richard is my assistant. It's just eye candy.
How many programmes do you record in a day? I mean, it's about four. You can always tell the fourth one because you both look bored shitless.
Do we really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, God, we go to such lengths. Next, Netflix denies struggling to find actor to play what?
Anything on Netflix before scrolling through 17 hours of menus.
I do know this. It's Prince Andrew.
It is. It's Prince Andrew.
Oh.
Yes,
They've got to find an actor who doesn't sweat.
Very good. OK, next. Introduction of what will bring a totally new dimension to the Tug of War programme?
Bees.
Bees?
Yeah, just a swarm of bees.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Tug of war on ice.
Oh, lovely idea.
Yes.
Oh, have you got momentum on your side?
Yes.
Yeah.
I bet you both have momentum on your side, wouldn't you?
Do momentum take part in ice events?
The introduction of senior mixed 580-kilogram weight class.
I was about to say that. So annoying.
This headline went on to talk about the worldwide media rights of Tug of War, which were finally sold to the highest bidder. Double money for old rope. Next, man balances what on his nose for 1 hour and 41 minutes?
2 nuns and a sausage.
It's a garden hoe. According to one report, the record-breaking feat caused the cartilage in his nose to deform. Interviewed straight afterwards, he said... OK, next. Tug of war competitors warned to be wary of what with highly pungent aroma?
It's not other competitors.
No.
Is the answer eggheads?
It's not.
No?
It is...
Lord...
Rubber mats is the answer. Yeah, fake rubber mats. It's such a disgusting smell, it makes you want to heave, which is actually quite handy. Next, Bake-Off judge Prue Leith left red-faced by what?
Sex party in Shropshire. It can't be.
I'm going to give you that.
Wow!
Naked orgy dilemma.
What?
Sure.
This is the story
What was the dilemma?
She didn't get invited.
This is the story that Bake-Off star Prue Leith once attended a Parisian orgy. I'd like to imagine a petit foursome was involved. Next, what found smothered in butter on Russell Road, Salisbury?
Russian agent.
Sleeping policeman. Car. Parked car. What else did you get at a road? Double yellow lines. Garden gnome.
I'm going to give you that. Land Rover is the answer. That's not the worst of it on the way home.
I'm going to give you that.
Yeah, egghead.
On the
He said
basis
car.
of what?
He said car.
He said almost everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
I said car, garden gnome and sleeping policeman. That is everything. I want to go on Mastermind, special subject everything.
Not the only instance of a luxury vehicle being damaged in that way. Just down the road, police found a couple of buttered rolls. And finally, scientists discovered dolphins can hold what?
Parish council meetings.
Pub quizzes. Grudge.
That's exactly right, yeah, grudges. They can hold grudges. Based on 30 years of observations, researchers from Bristol University noticed that dolphins hold deep-seated grudges against other dolphins. Here's one. Latin name Megan Marcellus. And so, therefore, the final scores are Ian and Joe on 5, Paul and Kirsty on 7.
No.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Joe Lycett, Paul Merton and Kirsty Wark. And I leave you with news that in Westminster, a call goes out for someone so lacking in principles that they might just possibly be persuaded to defend Boris Johnson in the House of Commons. There's further bad news for Boris Johnson after he gets a tip-off telling him Carrie's been spotted at the Kensington branch of Farrow and Ball. As workers march on the Nike factory in Karachi, some demonstrators have clearly misheard the protest is over a huge scandal. As gyms and pubs both open in the same week, it's a difficult decision for the people of Scotland. And with the lifting of lockdown approaching, there's excitement in the West End as a new owner announces the reopening of Stringfellows. Good night.